Welcome back to Lucid, a thought experiment in consciousness. In our first episode, we established something radical, that consciousness might be primordial, that it comes first before matter. We explored the idea that reality might operate like a dream, with multiple levels of consciousness: source, entity, soul, conscious self, and the corporeal. We asked, who breathes while you are asleep? And we discovered that an intelligence is operating, the soul, that's running your body and managing systems you don't consciously control. Today, we're going to explore how that intelligence communicates. Because here's the thing: if the soul is managing your body, orchestrating your experience, connected to entity and source, it's not silent. It's constantly speaking. The question is, are you listening? And more importantly, do you understand the language? Our second presupposition: all is metaphor. Let's begin. So I want you to think about your dreams from last night, or any dream that you remember vividly. In that dream, let's say you saw your childhood home. Was it the actual house? Was it the physical structure with the exact address, the specific walls and rooms as they existed, and consensus reality? Well, no, of course it was not. It was a representation. It was a symbol. Your consciousness was using the image of your childhood home to communicate something. Maybe it was safety. Maybe it was nostalgia. Maybe it's unresolved feelings. Maybe it's something that you cannot quite put into words. That is how dreams work. They don't speak in literal facts. They speak in symbols and metaphors, feelings, images that carry meaning beyond their surface structure. A snake in a dream isn't just a snake. A house is not just a house, and water isn't just water. Everything means something. Everything is language. Now, here's what I'm proposing. What if waking reality works the same way? What if physical reality is consciousness, your soul, your entity, source itself, using form as a language to communicate with itself? What if everything that you experience is symbolic and meaningful, part of a conversation happening between the levels of your knowing and being? Your body isn't just a mechanical meat suit. It is a metaphor. It is consciousness made flesh. Events are not random. They're arranged, they're meaningful, they're synchronicities. Other people are not just separate individuals. They are mirrors, reflections, teachers, showing you aspects of yourself. Physical reality is the soul speaking to the conscious self, and the only language the conscious self can understand: form, sensation, and experience. So let's start with the most intimate metaphor: your body. Now remember, the soul is running your body. It's doing your breathing for you. It's beating your heart. It's managing the trillions of cellular processes every second. But it's not just maintenance. It's communication. When you feel tension in your shoulders, what is happening? Well, the conscious self might say, well, I'm stressed. I need a massage. But what if the soul is saying, well, you are carrying something? Maybe it's a burden. Maybe it's a responsibility that isn't yours. Let it go. The tension is a metaphor. It is the body speaking. When you get a gut feeling about someone, that immediate sense of, yes, this person is trustworthy, or no, something is off here. What is that? Well, it's not logic. You haven't gathered enough data for a rational conclusion. It's the soul communicating through sensation. Your gut literally is speaking, and it often knows things that your conscious self hasn't figured out yet. Here is where it gets uncomfortable for a lot of people. What if illness isn't just random? What if it's not just bad luck or bad genes or bad exposure to a virus? What if illness is feedback? Now, not punishment, not karma in some moral sense, but communication, information, a message from the soul to the conscious self that something is out of alignment. Maybe you're living in a way that contradicts your deeper values. Maybe you're ignoring your intuition. Maybe you're just pushing forward when you need to rest. Maybe you're holding on to resentment or fear or beliefs that no longer serve you. The body, as a metaphor, starts speaking louder. First, it whispers, fatigue or minor aches or disrupted sleep. Then, if the conscious self doesn't listen, the volume increases. Chronic pain, illness, or maybe even a breakdown. Now, this isn't to create or have some sort of blame. This isn't you created your cancer with bad thoughts, though. This is not anything remotely close to that. This is understanding that the body is not separate from your consciousness. It's not a machine that breaks down randomly. It's consciousness expressing itself, and when that expression is blocked, symptoms appear. Symptoms are the language. The question is, what are they saying? Well, let's talk about emotion. The conscious self often treats emotions as problems to solve. I'm angry. That's bad. I need to calm down. I'm sad. That's uncomfortable. I need to fix it. I'm anxious. That's weakness. I need to be stronger. But what if emotions are how the soul speaks most directly? Anger? A boundary has been crossed. Something needs to be changed. Sadness? You're grieving, releasing. Make space for what comes next. Anxiety? You're moving in a direction misaligned with your deeper knowing. Pause and reconsider. Joy? Yes. More of this. Yes. Emotions are not irrational disruptions to clear thinking. They are intelligence, information. They are the soul giving feedback in real time about whether your choices, your relationships, and directions are in alignment with your deeper self. The conscious self's job isn't to suppress emotions. It's to listen to them. It's to decode them and understand what they're communicating. Now, let's expand outward, beyond the body, beyond emotion. Have you ever experienced a meaningful coincidence? You're thinking about someone you haven't talked to in years, and then they text you that day. You need specific information, and a book falls off the shelf with exactly what you need. You keep seeing the same number everywhere, on clocks, on license plates, on receipts. You meet someone by chance who changes your life. Carl Jung called this synchronicity, meaningful coincidence with no apparent causal connection. But what if there is a connection? Not just a linear one, but a physical one. What if the soul, connected to the entity and source, is arranging physical reality the way your dreaming mind arranges dream symbols? In your dream, if you need to process something about your father, your consciousness generates a dream character who looks like your father or represents that relationship. What if waking reality works the same way? What if the people that you meet, the circumstances that you encounter, the random events that occur, what if they're being arranged? Not by fate or some sort of external entity, but by you, by the soul level of your own consciousness, creating metaphors to communicate with your conscious self. That person who irritates you, well, that is a mirror showing you something that you haven't integrated in yourself. That job opportunity that appeared out of nowhere, that's the soul opening a door for you because you are ready. That loss, that ending, that thing falling apart, no, it's not a punishment and it's not a failure. It's the soul clearing space, ending a chapter, redirecting you towards what wants to emerge. So here's the framework. Physical reality is how consciousness at the entity/soul level symbolizes itself to the conscious self. Your body equals a metaphor. Your emotions equal a metaphor. Your relationships equal a metaphor. Your circumstances equal a metaphor. Your coincidences equal a metaphor. Everything you experience is consciousness, using form as a language to communicate with itself. The conscious self experiences events as literal, physical, and separate, but the soul experiences them as meaningful, connected, and symbolic. Now, both are true and both are real. They're just different levels of the same experience. So how do you learn the language of the soul? How do you learn how to read the language? Well, first, you have to pay attention. Your body is always speaking. Notice sensations. Don't just override them or medicate them without asking, what is this telling me? Your emotions are always speaking. Don't just suppress or indulge them. Ask, what information is this carrying? Your life circumstances are always speaking. When something keeps repeating, a pattern in relationships, a recurring pattern, a theme that shows up in different forms, don't just call it bad luck. Ask, what am I being shown? What am I supposed to learn here? Second, well, assume there is meaning. This is the practice. Even if you're not sure what something means, assume it means something. That random encounter was not random. That song that came on the radio at the perfect moment was not a coincidence. That dream that felt significant, well, it was significant. The moment you start assuming meaning, you start noticing it everywhere. Third, dialogue. You can literally talk to your body. You can talk to your soul. You can ask questions. What are you trying to tell me? And then listen. Not with your thinking mind, but with your intuitive sense, your feeling sense. The answer might come as a sensation, an image, a knowing, or even a memory. This is not woo-woo. This is acknowledging that you are not just the conscious self. You are also the soul. And the soul wants to communicate with the part of you that thinks it is separate. When you start recognizing that everything is a metaphor, that physical reality is a symbolic language, something shifts. You stop feeling like a victim of random circumstances, and you start feeling like a participant in a conversation. Your life becomes meaningful, not in some abstract spiritual sense, but practically, daily, moment to moment. That pain in your back, well, it is telling you something. That person who keeps showing up, they're mirroring something. The opportunity that scared you, well, it is an imitation. You are not alone in some random mechanical universe. You are source, experiencing itself through the levels of entity, soul, and conscious self as the corporeal self, and these levels are constantly communicating. Physical reality is the language, and metaphor is how it speaks. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. If everything is a metaphor, if physical reality is consciousness communicating with itself, then we have to ask, who is the itself? If the soul is speaking to the conscious self, and both are you, and both are also entity, and entity is source, then who are all these other people? These are other souls? These are other conscious selves walking around having their own experiences? Are they separate? Or are they also me? Are they you? Well, that is our next presupposition. You, I, everything is source. And it's the most challenging one yet. For this week, just for now, I invite you to practice. Notice one thing that your body is telling you. Notice one emotion and ask, what is it communicating? Notice one coincidence and assume it means something. Write it down, track it, see what happens when you start treating reality as a language instead of random events. The soul is always speaking. The question is, are you learning to listen? This is Lucid, a thought experiment in consciousness. Thank you for exploring with me.